I'm Shafiq Qureshi. In this video, I would discuss the use of academic language, which is more formal. For instance, I have to write academic essay. For example, the essay in IELTS, CSS. So I have to use formal language, which is called the academic language. In the academic language, I have to restrict myself using contractions. I have to avoid using contracted forms, like instead of using won't, I'll use the will and not separately. If I have to use they are, for example, I combine they and are with the apostrophe. They, apostrophe, and re. This becomes contracted form. So instead of using the contracted form, I'll use both of the words like they and are. And in the second case, we avoid using phrasal or prepositional verbs or nouns. For example, if I have to say that I want to give up this place, instead of using this expression which is called phrase, I had better use the expression abandon. It is the proper word, it is the proper word from the vocabulary. So instead of using the phrases, it's better to use the proper vocabulary. If I want to say tell off, so we use tell off. This is a phrase. When we use to rebuke somebody, So instead of using tell off, it is better to use rebuke. This is the proper word, and this is called the actual vocabulary. So this is one of the characteristics of the formal communications or the academic language, that we have to avoid using these phrases. Instead, we have to use proper vocabulary. And next point is that we have to use fewer euphemism, very less euphemism. euphemism. Actually, we use euphemism to use mild or indirect word or expression substituted for one that is considered to be too harsh or blunt. There are certain expressions which are too harsh and blunt. Just to avoid those expressions, we use milder expressions. This is called euphemism. Instead of using he died, we use the word pass away. This is the milder expression. And like, for instance, I would say downsizing. This is the actual word. And if we use euphemism, so we say for cuts. Instead of using the word cuts, it's better to use the word downsizing, which is the direct word. And cuts is a euphemism. Likewise, if I say gratuity, actually this is the pronunciation gratuity, which is most commonly known as gratuity, we can use the word tip for the sake of gratuity. So gratuity is actually the actual word, and the tip is used. This is actually the euphemism. Okay, and next, in the academic language, we use personal pronouns. We can use, but very less. So instead of personal pronouns, it's better to use passives. For example, if I say we will look into the matter, I use personal pronoun here in the form of we. So instead of this, I can say the matter will be investigated. I use passive. So instead of using the active where personal pronouns are used extensively, it's better to use passives and avoid using the personal pronouns. But it doesn't mean that we are strictly forbidden not to use the personal pronouns. We can use personal pronoun, but it's better to use passives where there is less possibility of using the personal pronoun, so we can use the passives instead. And greater use of modal verbs, like for instance, if I say might, may, must, ought, can, could, right? So we use greater uh, the personal the use of the verbs. These are called the greater use of the modal verbs. So we can use greater verbs of the greater modal verbs, and uh, then we use nominalization. Nominalization means that most of the time the verbs and adjectives could be substituted by the noun. This is called nominalization. For example, instead of using the word achieve, I can use the word achievement. So achieve is a verb and achievement is a noun. I can use the word assume, ASSUME, assume. So I can use the word assumption, which is a noun. Assume is a verb and assumption is a noun. I can use uh, assess. Assess is a verb and assessment is a noun. Establish is a verb and establishment is a noun. So explain is a verb, explanation is a noun. So distribute is a verb and distribution is a noun. So there are the sentences in which we can serve the purpose by using verb or adjectives, but it's better that we just mold or change the form of the sentence. And if we use nominalization or noun instead of using verb or adjective, this is also one of the ways which contribute maximum in developing the academic language.